Yo, so I just wanted to make a video. This is just speculation. I'm gonna go turn on the flamingo though. Just speculation. I'm trying to figure out what's going on because it feels like I'm being lied to and like that a lot of resources are being used to like fool me. Thought this for a while, but like that, it's not really working, and we're at the what seems to be at the end or near the end of all this. And so anyway, um, I was talking to my dad about kind of first. Let me just explain how this started. I was telling my mom and dad, like I was looking at kind of just going through my phone on X or Twitter, and I saw that two Palestinian terrorists that died, and they're using M4s or like some kind of AR-15 variant, and I just thought it was interesting. Like in the past 2 years, since the war in Ukraine started, my entire life up until 2 years ago, you could pretty much tell whose side someone was on based on what weapon they were using. So if they were using an AK-47, probably on like the side that included Russia and whatever, or generally like they're in the side against America, right? Um, and then if they're using some kind of M16 or something, they're probably an American ally or some kind of, so, like on the side of the U.S. or just the U.S. or something like that. And so I thought it would like I just thought that was interesting. I went and kind of talked to my mom about that, based on this thing because Colonel Huff Emmett Colonel Huff, I think his first name is Emmett, but Emmett Huff Sterling. Is my mom is a lawyer, and she used to office in an office where there were a bunch of lawyers. They would all pay part of the um, rent, and they would each get their own office space to do their law stuff. And the corner office belonged to I think Emmett Sterling Huff. I just call him Colonel Huff. He's a former Marine. He was in the Marines in Vietnam. My dad was in the Army in Vietnam, so they kind of had mutual respect. I think my dad always generally tells me to respect everybody and whatever. So I can say that from our side, there's respect, and he. I always remember the smell of cigar smoke coming out of that office, but when I like sometime around 2002, 2003, I got my first airsoft gun, at least my first AEG or automatic electric gun. And it was a Tokyo Marui AK-47, and I got it because they were just generally well regarded by Tokyo, basically the best airsoft gun that Tokyo Marui made at the time. They were mostly metal and like good quality. You could upgrade them easy, stuff like that. And so, and they had big magazines and big batteries, so that you didn't have to like deal with stuff if you were playing airsoft. You could just go out and play. And I still managed to fuck it up, but whatever. That's a different story for a different day. He saw the box, and on the box was a Soviet soldier with a like in a almost like a parade, wearing like their kind of almost as like sailor looking uniforms that the Soviets used to have, the ones with the blue stripes or whatever, blue and white stripes. And he had it like shouldered. And I remember Colonel Huff saying like, "Well, if this was active combat, he'd be dead because you gotta put, have your gun up and always ready." And you know what I'm saying. So like, he's basically saying like, you can't have it like, where you're carrying it by the buttstock like this. You gotta be, you know, like you had to have it basic, almost like Call of Duty, where you're running around in Call of Duty and it's like at your hip, and then you ADS, and so you have to be ready to ADS essentially. And then he also kind of like, if I remember this correctly, he asked like, "Why did you get an AK-47? This is like the bad guy's gun." And so that's kind of why I had that thought in my head, and I was just like, "Well, because it's basically what I told you, um, or what I just said here." And And so anyway, that kind of stuck with me for a long time, and it's generally true, like what I was saying, where for the longest time, in my reality at least, whenever I, like global war on terror and stuff like that, I think most probably veterans would agree that like they had an AK, unless they were indigenous forces on your side, they were the bad guys. Does that make sense? And if they had an M4, they are probably not your enemy. Or an M16 variant of some sort, they are probably not your enemy. Fast forward to today, and like the Ukrainians are running a lot of AK-47 variants or AK variants, AK-102s or whatever the 74s, and just there's a wide. The Ukrainians are fielding like at the beginning, the whole that was the meme is they were like fielding every fucking weapon that you could possibly imagine, but a lot of AKs, and a lot of the footage you see that comes out of there, they're using some kind of AK variant, and then the Palestinians are using M4s and M16s, and so it's like flipped on its head. You have AKs versus AKs, and Ukraine and Russia, you both using some kind of AK variants, and then Israel and the Palestinians are the Philistines or the Arabs that are pretending to be Philistines. However you want to say it, they're using some kind of AR-15 variant, and so are the Palestinians. I mean, so are the Israelis, right? And it's just a very interesting dynamic that has changed pretty much in the past 2 years. I know that the Israel-Palestine conflict or the Israeli-Arab conflict is going on much longer. Has been going on for much longer than that. I don't even know where they got all these M16s and stuff from because they, it's not like they get those from Russia. They got to get it from someone with bulk, whatever. Maybe it's much like I don't know. It could be something like how the U.S. left all the equipment, like when Biden did the whole pull out of Afghanistan thing, just left everything, which that was a fuck up. Whether I agree with Biden or Trump or whatever, and we're going to talk about Trump here in a second. That was a big fuck up the way that went down. It was not wise to leave. Like, are the Russians doing that in Syria? No, they're trying to get all their shit out of there. Maybe because they don't have as much resources, so they got to use what they have. But like it doesn't make sense that because it creates a bigger mess if you're leaving the Taliban like a bunch of high end equipment and stuff. It just doesn't make sense. But whatever. Um, so I just thought basically the whole thing here is like I just thought that was an interesting thing, and I went to talk to my dad about it, and he was kind of talking about Vietnam, and we were talking about there's a little bit about like M16s, and he was talking about what he remembers from it, and he was talking about you'd be surprised because like the M14 or the AK-47 rounds that are larger, they were not as like terrifyingly damaging as the M4 rounds or M16 rounds, whatever. I'm AR-15 rounds, 5.56, 2.23, whatever you want to say. They like those rounds are terrifying because they would even he would say tumble, and so what happens is when they hit something, if they like hit you in the arm, they don't just go like straight through. It hits and then it starts to tumble like that, and so it'll keyhole, as they say, or like it basically the bullet isn't that big, but if it starts to tumble, like something that is like the size of my finger going this way, if my finger goes like that, now you have a wound that's that big. Or like if it's tumbling and doing that kind of thing, now you have a wound that's like even bigger, right? And my dad was saying, yeah, when we were in the base one time, and someone got like one of the Viet Cong guys snuck into the perimeter, but someone shot and hit him in the ear, and it tumbled and then like went out the back of his head. So it hit him in the ear, but like because they tumble, it then actually struck his head and like blew out the back of his head. And that got me thinking. Like then I was like, well, you think about that, what you just said. Trump is really fortunate that because he got shot by an AR-15. The kid, guy who was doing it, Thomas Matthew Crooks or something. And I was even thinking about it. It's like, did they pick a guy because his middle name is Matthew? And like, I don't know. Like, I just always feel weird with this. Like, I'm in some kind of weird Truman Show type box, and people are trying to make me feel weird with whatever the fuck is going on. But or trying to inform of like maybe a secret reality because it feels like a bunch of magic is being used to like, you know, wizards are doing shit around me to like try to get me to not understand my own reality, and they're willing to like literally undo themselves into infinite burning torture to maybe have a chance to fool me. I'm not sure it works indefinitely or that it doesn't seem to have worked like I clearly see something is up, right? And I don't think it's something that can be relied upon for them forever to do this. But anyway, I just thought it was weird with Trump, like, and this happened. I've talked about this 5 month thing. That happened about 5 months and 10 days ago exactly, and the the idea that I'm getting at is it just reminded me of something when my dad said that, and like then I thought about the ear thing, like how fucking incredibly fortunate. I think the guy had on his AR-15 either he was using iron sights or like a reflex sight, like almost like a cheap holographic sight, or cheap red dot. So it's like not it is not something that you're going to be able to hit someone in the ear. That has to be an accident. You know what I mean? But even if it did hit him in the ear, it's probably not just going to punch a hole straight through it. It's probably going to tumble as soon as it hits his ear. And like if you look at my ears, I don't have like I don't know. I have more hair than I was actually going to get a haircut today. It would have helped demonstrate this a bit more. But um, if you hit me in the ear, I mean like it's gonna hit the back of my head. Um, so it seems like maybe my suggestion here is: did Trump actually get hit uh, by like? Was it more actually damaging than is being let on by the news? At least the news that I'm watching, and people are watching me in the Truman Show watch this and like be something is trying to fool me, and like he was fatally wounded, and and then just people are lying about it to try to see if they can extend something. And hold on, so first let me turn this on, and we're gonna what was that? So um okay. So this is what I wanted to look at. The reason I'm bringing that up is there's a Bible verse. Oh, let's do this. Let's go to desktop and let's open up the Jerusalem Bible here. And we're going to go to the book of Revelation. And remember that I made a video recently about the Trump peace plan where it seems like the Trump Kushner peace plan has something to do with Saudi Arabia and then 10 additional kingdoms or nations, kingdoms, um, that are Islamic kingdoms, so probably, or Islamic countries. So in reality, they probably have someone who would be considered like a sultan or king Malik above on all of them. And the way every country works is that really behind the things, like gangs run things. And so in in so icy. In or J anyway, okay. You can see it says stuff. It's usually somewhat relevant, just like the one the other day with the Chrome Hearts, whatever. I haven't seen those since then, so it's just very on point. But and also Kilauea started going off. I mean, my story in pictures is like it looks like, if you're looking at my story in pictures, it looks like this is directly related to what's going on with me. So again, for this, in time, but specifically this eruption, then 2018 when this whole area changed was when I first, kind of got into this stuff and was going through it. I was going through a major difficult situation then, and so, my thought on this is like we're gonna look at Revelation and what it says here in a moment, and that moment being right now. Once I pull this up and like get this, I just need to stop being distracted. So we're gonna do that. But um, so the I was standing on the seashore. This is from the end of Revelation 12, where Michael fights with Satan, and it basically, I think, you know, when it talks about angels falling from heaven, that happens in Revelation. So this is like at the end of the Bible, not something that's Satan and his angels didn't fall in past times. The idea is that this has either happened just recently or this has happened. This is to be something in the future, probably based on what I think, not that far from now, but it could have also already happened and I could be in some kind of box, and I could be probably likened to this character of Michael or something like that, or um, and who is like God, and I've already described Zechariah 12 describes who that is. So whoever's on the throne of the house of David, or the house of David will be like God, and so they'll be Michael essentially. And so then this is the 1260-day period starts here, and all right, so this is where it talks about the beast and the mark of the beast and stuff. And my whole thing is, I think there's been a rebellion in secret that has gone on, as described in Second Thessalonians, and Revelation basically is this some like the you could almost read directly from Second Thessalonians into what happens in Revelation is like a rebellion in secret turns into this 1260-day period where what's happened is no longer in secret, and these people in positions of high power who are being bought off or part of these organizations like secret societies or Satanist whatever things, or just like Islam is Satanist. It's adversarial to Christianity and the true God Yahweh, and it's just a knockoff. And it does seem to be like even the Buddhist palm seems to be the actual Islam, and the five fingers seem to be you know the five pillars of Islam, because that's from the Monkey King story. That's just directly in the Monkey King story. And the Monkey King is a intellectual property knockoff of Yahweh and Jesus. And so Goku is a knockoff because he has the iron rod and he flies around or he has Rio Jingle Bang and he flies around on a cloud, and it's just an intellectual property knockoff of Jesus. So it's common in China. So I was standing on the seashore. Then I saw a beast emerge from the sea. It had 7 heads and 10 horns with a coronet on each of its 10 horns. This is directly from the book of Daniel, Daniel 7, as you can see here, right? And like I said, Second Thessalonians. Holy shit, it's right there. I didn't even. I mean, I know this because I've been delving through this for a while, and this has been one of my thoughts for a while. But I guess I didn't notice it was right there. So, and it could have something to do, as I recently quoted that towards the Nation of Islam, Louis Farrakhan, uh, Jay Electronica, and whatever whoever that guy is in Florida that was calling Christianity pagan. And it's like, you guys literally follow a knockoff of Yahweh and go kiss a black stone, which is a direct opposite of the white stone. The stone of Israel, and it's just bullshit. They just follow a completely adversarial, made up Arab religion that is causing problems for everybody, and seems to also just be something empowered by the Buddha, and like I've said recently, I think, and Baal, and I think what happened is Baal, once he was pushed out by Yahwism, Baal had to go to the east and parade himself as a different deity, and that deity is like the Buddha or some shit like that. The Buddha is just an enlightened man, but it seems like someone with a indwelling of a spirit. Because notice Buddhism started and Gautama Buddha actually came around the time of Israel. Like Israel was already existent, Yahwism had already existed. All these things were already going on in the Near East, right? And so I think it's all going to the east and then coming back as a with a mask on, essentially back into the Middle East, and like that's Allah, right? And so Allah just means deity, some deity, and it in the biblical terminology, Allah is one of the biblical words, like I've pointed out, and it's a generic title that means any deity. It's like the word God. When I say God, and then I go, well, which God? We have this idea that God is like a name, but God isn't a name. It's just like a title. It's a generic title, right? And so Allah is a generic title, and it's even used of heathen pagan deities in the Old Testament. So when this guy's calling Christianity pagan, Yahweh is never used of any deity that, like, inherently Yahweh isn't pagan. Yahweh is the God of Israel that is inherently non-heathen, non-pagan, non-goyim. That is the one true God, Yahweh. Um, so, and Christians believe Jesus is the Jeremiah 23:5 and 6 character that had, like, Messiah figure, branch of David, that is called Yahweh Zidkenu, that had to have come and be cut off by the time of the Second Temple. So that's what Christians believe. And so, not pagan, not even close. You can disagree with what Christians believe, but there's more backing evidence for that than particularly Islam and even Judaism, because Judaism is missing key characters that seemingly get brought back out by whatever happens in Revelation. They try to have a fake, like what seems to be some kind of fake form of Jesus, like an Isa character or something, that is ultimately not. Hold on. It is ultimately not the real Jesus. He's like a dragon in disguise. He's being empowered by one of the fake gods that I'm talking about, and probably just some nation or something that is like some dragon is empowering. It might be like all the power of China or all the power of some country from the East or a consortium of countries from the East. And this is why it's, these messages seem to be to Asia or something. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's Russia or some shit like that. In any instance, um, it does seem to be that, that's what one of the beasts, maybe the beast from the earth, is the false prophet. But I can speculate on that. But the reason I'm bringing this all up is the thing with Trump, where he got hit in the ear. And it was hard to believe at the time, but it's just like, well, whatever. But I can tell for sure, just as I'm talking about, the NFL seems to be just theater, and I'm seeing through the cracks in the matrix, because if it's just theater, then the actors need to be better than they are, and they aren't very good. I'll put it like this: they aren't very believable. And so if that's not very believable, regular news media isn't very believable at all. Actually, I can see when they're just lying, and I can see, like, I was really disappointed in Lester Holt bringing up it, just repeating this thing where it's like this person who is clearly an Islamist, lying, trying to claim to be an ex-Muslim while also harassing ex-Muslims and seemingly operating for some country or some Islamic group of people, running over 200 people at a Christian holiday market and killing like a child and some other people. So it's just really obvious. Like the news, everything just said a car did it, and it's like, well, who was driving the car? You know, uh, a Muslim extremist, right? Or I wouldn't even say an extremist, a Muslim, and they're doing what it says in the Quran. And people want to pretend that's extremism, but I'm going to suggest that no, that's just Islam. Because it is. I mean, are you that stupid that you're gonna be like, well, I mean, the ones who are here, it's like because they don't have to kill you. They're trying to take over the world. It's not. They're not gonna. They don't have to do it by force on everybody because you're stupid enough to fall for their bullshit. So anyway, Yahweh, Yahweh is not that stupid, and I pray to him, and he knows everything. So I'm like, he can clue me in. Um, And I don't have to know everything. I just have to have faith in him, and I think I get through it like Job because whatever's doing, something's trying to do something to me, kind of like Satan did to Job, and I don't think it's working in the way that Satan wants, and he knows that if he loses, he's going to end up in a place that looks an awful lot like this, and he's just a bitch, and so being thrown into this burning lake or some kind of lake of sulfur that looks probably exactly like this, it could even be this. I mean, we've got one in Hawaii here, so if this is what people are doing, why don't we throw them into this one? But that's what I was saying in 2018 that got me locked up. But anyway, or like I was saying that to about a bunch of people because it seems like the whole illusion completely fell apart, and then they had to rebuild it around me. But anyway, Yahweh. I notice how this says. It had 7 heads and 10 horns with a cornet on each of its horns. Its heads were marked with blasphemous titles. I saw that the beast was like a leopard, with paws like a bear and a mouth like a lion. The dragon had handed over to it its own power and his throne and his worldwide authority. I mean, the dragon is a symbol of China, but it could also be a symbol of, I don't know, some other country in Asia, or, some grand wizard, maybe some KKK person here in America stole off some bullshit, or it's just some snaky diviner enchanter person who snaked off power and who knows that Matthew Ray Wilkins, is going to be his downfall into this burning lake because Jesus already did what he did, and Yahweh is real, and he's going to fucking kill this person. So, yeah, kill this person in finality, not like this person gets to still exist. You're done. So, and this isn't a threat unless you are literally Satan, and it's decided over by a court case, as the Book of Daniel describes. So it's not like I'm going to be going out and hurting anybody. It's on my behalf. It's going to happen because of what people have done to me, it would seem. Or I'm going to actually suggest because of what they did to Jesus, and Jesus is doing for my sake. Jesus is looking at me and saying, "You've gone through enough to where like I identify with what you've done. You probably identify with me, and I'm going to help you out on this one. And I'm going to grant you to share my throne with me." That's what it says. That's what the 7 churches of Asia are about. So that's the 7th church is being granted the throne of Jesus. So I saw the beast was like a leopard with paws like a bear and a mouth like a lion. The dragon had handed over to it his own power and his throne and his worldwide authority. I saw that one of its heads seemed to have had a fatal wound, but that this deadly injury had healed, and after that the whole world had marveled and followed the beast. So, and then they prostrated themselves in front of the dragon because he had given the beast his authority, and they prostrated themselves in front of the beast, saying, "Who can compare with the beast?" It's like, just like, the name Michael is, who is like God. So it's who can compare with the beast, and it's like who can be the most beast-like man, right? So anyway, how could anybody defeat him for 42 months, 1260 days, or 3.5 years? The beast was allowed to mouth its boasts and blasphemies. So here's another thing. This 42 months could be the exact period here, a year, twice a year, and a half a year, and it's also the 1260 days from the up here, right? This 42 months, or 1260 days. Also notice that 1260 days thing that I've been doing, plus the whole thing that I've been showing with not just 1260 days, but 2520 days, which is double that, just to make sure that I am in fact, it could be a 7 year tribulation period, but I've always, for a while now, I've considered it, like I've thought that it could possibly not be a 1260 day period, right? Does that make sense? It could be. I mean, it could not be 7 years because that's what I always grew up hearing. It was a 7 year tribulation period, but I actually think it just clearly says 1260 days, and it says 42 months, 1260 days, 3.5 years. You go back to the book of Daniel, it says that same number. I think it's just for a long time people have thought that the first, you're supposed to read it like sequentially. Does that make sense? So that you'd read 11 and then it's a different period than 12, which is a different period than 13. But I think these are looking at the situation from different vantage points. Like as I've said, it's almost like how there's seven churches, seven seals, seven trumpets, seven plagues, but they seem to be how different people groups view this same events happening. So the seven churches is how I or Christians might see what's going on, or I would see what's going on for sure, and maybe anybody with me. The the seven seals seems to be like maybe how a little bit more neutral parties might see it, you know, um, if that makes sense. Um, the I don't know. We're getting a nice little tour here. Maybe it's relevant. Maybe it's not. I'm not exactly sure. I'm just watching. So and it's also on that computer for me. That's why I'm looking up at that. But that then the like ultimately it gets to the plagues, and the plagues is how the enemies of God see it. So it's like um it's all, I think, describing the same period of time and the same events, but just the vantage point that you were looking from, like how you are and how you've lived your life, is how you see it. And it's a difficult period for everybody. That's why even the church's period is like anybody who's a Christian, or maybe anybody who's with me, that's how they see it. And anybody who's with Satan, that they see it as the plagues. You know what I mean? And so I think that the chapter 12 is probably this year and twice a year, this 3.5 year period, and the 42 months from this thing, and the 1260 days. I think it's all the same time period. So, and this is also described exactly like this in the book of Daniel, in Daniel 7. And we can even go look at that here in a minute. But for 42, like, this is the part that got me thinking about this is I saw that one of its heads seemed to have a fatal wound, but that it's this deadly injury had healed, and after that, the whole world marveled and followed at the beast. Did Trump actually die when he got shot? And like, I don't know, a very powerful combination of magic and AI, maybe even mostly AI, but and like organizations working in unison to try to hold up this illusion have been working very hard, like literally working overtime to keep this essentially like digital image of a person going, or something like that. I don't know. I can't be positive, and it could be something like that. Maybe it's happened with somebody else like this, and and something's just showing it to me through Trump or something. I don't know, but he's the only person that I can think of that had a head wound that was then healed. Uh, like I've even seen things where they're saying like I can't even see it. You know what I mean? Um, and he does seem to have a personality cult behind him. And while I don't disagree with some of the stuff that he's saying, some of the stuff, other things are just like seem wild. You know what I mean? It doesn't. It seems hard to believe he's saying this kind of stuff. Um, and so is it something like that? Because it could be. It definitely seems like something. Like I said, like I don't think every Jewish person is part of the synagogue of Satan. But I do believe, like what I've seen with the whole Jamie Mazur thing, and Michelle Mazur and those people, I think maybe something took control of the American government in like 2008, and it was connected to what happened, like I don't know, with Alessandro Ambrosio or something, where they attacked out at me using some kind of venom, like strike, and it just didn't work the way they thought it would. And so we've been in this state of like limbo as I've been piecing back reality together, and like ultimately this was never something that Yahweh didn't know was going to happen, and it like has made sense of the Bible. And if that's the case, all these people die into infinite burning torture. They die into the burning lake. Um, and like Yahweh will hold their consciousness in that torture forever because of how evil a thing what I've described is, and what, if that's the case, what they've done is. Um, and then the whole COVID thing probably was, like I said, I think COVID was released on purpose. And you know, it did kill my grandma. And so whatever dragon allowed that to happen in China, that dragon little snake guy gonna be in the burning lake here if that's the actual reality of it. So just FYI. Um, which would probably be terrifying because it seems like that is something that could happen. Because the Monkey King could probably reach at even the Jade Emperor or any kind of dragon. Aogong, like there's nobody, ain't a person on the fucking planet is gonna beat Yahweh, and Monkey King's just a knockoff of Yahweh. If anything, he's closer to he's closer to Yahweh than all these other characters because he's literally just an intellectual property knockoff. If anything, it's just me, and it's just a way to call me a monkey, which whatever. I'm not like I don't have insecurities about that. So I'll jump on you like a spider monkey. Uh, so anyway, um, let's see. And it has something to do with having kids in secret, I think. I mean, I remember Trump said something about like I'm the father of IVF, and it's like, okay, that's weird because it seems like people have used IVF to like specifically breed me without my permission and then abuse me with my own kids or something. That's what it feels like. That's what it seems like. So, yeah. I mean, is that what's going on? I can't tell. I can't tell if Trump is the enemy or a friend, or because people don't talk to me even though I seem to be in the middle of like the Truman Show. But I just found it so weird, especially when my dad said that. It like brought this back in my head because when it happened I had this thought too. Wait, you mean Trump, this guy who people have called the Antichrist? There is no character called the Antichrist in Revelation. There is a beast, a bestial like man who has been wounded in the head fatally, but I guess magic or something allows it to keep going. Um, so, and again, I don't know how loud this is. It's just a heater. Um, but something allows it to keep going. And I basically think it's all the magic in the world, all the evil in the world, everything in the world that could try to hold up this fake reality a little bit longer, that has been operating in secret. They have to use literally all their resources to keep this going, to the point where they have to create a something just outwardly, a mark of the beast that you would have to take to keep this going. And you get it on your forehead, on your hand. And something my mom was watching the news, and she even brought up like one of the ladies on the news. Uh, I'm gonna say her name, Corley Peel. I don't know if this is the case. She had like a mark on her forehead, like a I don't know, some kind of weird thing on her forehead, and it could have just been makeup that was applied wrong. And I was like, well, maybe she could be Catholic or something. I mean, we're around holidays. I don't know what Catholics do, but like I know on they like palm on one of the Easter holidays they get ashes on their forehead. So I was like, well, maybe they do that on Christmas too. I don't know, but I can say that around the time that Nasrallah and all his allies were getting just obliterated, all those dudes had marks on their head because they were bowing in submission on the ground to Allah, and they put their forehead on the ground, and they were praying so many times a day because I think they were worried, and their only hope is some kind of fake knockoff deity, and they were like, their head is in the ground, and literally they had just like their foreheads looked fucked up because of it because they had like almost permanent indentations on their forehead or whatever. So I was like, is that what it's talking about? Because that would make sense of that. Also, the thing that I've talked about with the right eye, left eye thing and the right hand, like I think it explicitly describes the mark of the beast being on the right hand. Yeah, it does. Right? You see that? The right hand or on the forehead. Um, So something like that. I mean, it does seem to match this thing that is like the opposite of what in the Old Testament you're to write, the laws of the Torah and Yahweh on your forehead and on your hand, and like that was supposed to be how you were to live your life, and that's a symbolic thing. So something like that. I mean, anyway, it can, and also the thing here is it can call down fire from heaven, which is like this exactly like the Jezebel. First of all, the beast from the earth is raised in Islam, just real fast. Um, so you have it says a monster, beast from the earth, a daba or a bear from the earth. That in Hebrew, daba seems to be a word for a creature, monster, whatever, but a bear is a doob. Yasin bin Halim, a doob from in Hebrew, the word doob, because Arabic is a knockoff of Hebrew, came around much later. Um, a a doob or a daub or a daba, it would be like a bear. A daub, when you put a hey at the end, it would be a female, just like Allah is a singular feminine title. So yeah. Um, which is one I've also brought up. Like, is Alessandra Ambrosio, who goes by Ale? I mean, that's pretty much if you took that word and put it into Hebrew, it would be the word for deity, except feminized. So singular feminine, it would be Allah. Something like that could be. I mean, at this point, I'm just what is that thing where like all the fucking math is going on behind the guy's head or whatever? That's how I feel like when I'm dealing with this. It's like what it's something that is going on. I know it is absolutely happening. I just don't exactly know what the thing is. But a beast from the earth. Enough of these say a beast from the earth that you could just take that it says a beast from the earth. In any instance, a creature from the earth is close enough to, or a dabatan. A ton in Hebrew is a dragon, and so a Dabaton would be like a monster dragon, a bear dragon, or in Hebrew it would be a bear dragon, or a bear snake, or a bear whale, or something like that. Sea monster, but from the earth, because it explicitly says that, and then it talks about signs, right? These signs, and if you go to Revelation, Q Bible Revelation, and you look at what it's able to do. And much like this, where it talks about the beast, this is what happened with the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. He's turned into a bestial like man for a while. So I think that's the idea of the beast. Um, or like in the song "Backcountry" by Avenged Sevenfold, He who makes a beast out of himself gets rid of the pain of being a man. Yeah, it seems like exactly what this is talking about in Revelation. It's like a man that turns into like a snaky evil man to like survive essentially. Um, wise as a snake and as harmful as a snake, as opposed to wise as a snake and as harmful as a dove. But so it's able to do, and they bowed towards the serpent, right? The snake, the diviner enchanter. It basically feels like it's Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat. That's why I'm like, is it? You know what I mean? It's just some kind of fucking, you know what I'm saying? It's some diviner enchanter type thing that's trying to steal people's souls. I mean, Mortal Kombat seems to be a pretty good analogy to a lot of this, but okay, yeah. So at some point, where does it say? Through the miracles 14. So right here, if we go here, um, and it's able to do signs here, right? Miracles is the word Simeon, Simeon, sign, miracle, wonder, token. Uh, to give a sign, to indicate, to make known, mark, indicate, signify, right? To mark, to note, distinguish oneself by marking. Um, hmm. So, a mark, right? You know what I'm saying, and it's a sign, a miracle, but it specifically says sign here, though it's translated in most Bibles as miracles. It's able to do miracles. Okay, well, this thing specifically in Islam is able to do. Remember, this came around a lot later, and I think it's just an AI empowered by false deities and lots of oil money. Um, Arab oil money, because this is like an Arab religion. And let's see, before that, let me get out my Quran real fast, because I know I've read this one enough to where whatever point I'm going to make out of it, this is the one that I got when I was in the jail for, bullshit reasons. But it's actually, this is how I learned what this was, because I had enough time to just sit down and read the Quran while I was in the jail. Um, and like, I have all my marks on here as what I think. Like, I put a star next to any passage that I was like, all right, this is interesting. Like things that I was like with this when I got to this one, I was like, this is literally just the opposite of the thing in the Bible. Even the guys in the jail, when I showed it to them, most of them were like, yeah, that sounds exactly like the other side of the Bible. It's not like they were stupid. I think they got it. Um, so let's see. Also, I don't want this video to go on forever because I'm gonna record a video a little later. Because there's a storm coming, like a literal storm coming. It's Christmas Eve at 1 in the morning or something. About 1 in the morning, there's going to be a intense storm to the point where it's like I think the like pop-up storms that were coming by us literally there's like uh rotating funnel clouds. So I mean there could be a tornado or two tonight or something. I don't know. I think the lightning stuff could happen. This could be the whole fall of Satan, like falls like lightning. This could be that thing. So I'm not unaware of that. um So I mean, actually, because I'm just making too much sense of this shit, and they're still doing it. Like if I was looking at someone and he made sense of the end of the Bible against the Quran with the actual reality that's going on around him, with with what people have clearly done to him in some kind of Truman Show, I would be fucking terrified if I were them. But I don't want to end up in infinite burning torture. I want to go to the infinite party and, paradise and, the fun place where nobody dies anymore. The singularity into the future where nobody dies anymore. And these people are, I don't know, delusional. So that's even what it says in Thessalonians. They're sent a deluded spirit by Yahweh because they weren't going to believe, so Yahweh deludes them to the point where they do the thing. They do this and manifest out his word so that, at least I can go to that nice place. Oh, did something happen at Lakewood Church? I remember there's like a Palestinian shooting. It was like a transgender person or something, but um, it seemed to me like it wasn't real. Is this the beast from the earth, Joel Osteen, or something like? I don't know. I mean, it seems like a lot around Houston. Like there was an explosion at like an oil thing a little bit back, and like a car had run into it. Like clearly someone had driven a car into this oil thing and blew it up, and they didn't ever address that, despite the fact that they found a body inside the car at the end. So it was like really obvious to me, like they're just trying to hide that there's more chaos going around, and like people are trying to make points to the Truman Show that's going on around me. I think, and like they're trying to hide it. They're using as much resources as they can to like not actually engage what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, seems like what it is. Anyway, so I mean, did something happen? Was there some kind of shooting at at Lakewood again, or what happened? That's a lot of flashing lights. I'm gonna hold on. Maybe someone had a heart attack or something, or some kind of medical emergency. That's just a lot of lights for one person having a medical emergency. So, did something happen at Lakewood Church? I mean, because that's it. That looks like it's at Lakewood Church, but I could be the place next to it. But the place next to it is just like an apartment complex, I think. So, um, give me a second here. The last thing that is brought up is the thousands gather for Lakewood Church services after a deadly church shooting. That's the when I just typed in Lakewood Church and clicked news um, on my computer on Google. I mean, severe weather. I don't see anything on. Like I just went to click to Houston. I don't see anything. Hold on. KHOU 11. I don't see anything.
Like high pay, flexible hours, and an immediate start.
Okay, I can't go back. I don't know. Like, look, this is what I'm talking about. This is the last thing that it showed. Like, what happened there? Because I just feel like weird stuff is going on around my reality, and people are, you know, trying to cover it up because they've done evil shit. And what happens in the darkness is bound to come out into the light. And I don't trust anybody. I don't care if they claim to be a Christian or a pastor or something. So I don't know what's going on, but in fact, that's a great way to do evil shit is to pretend that you're a Christian or whatever. I live my shit out, and I also whatever my fucking problems are, I just am pretty open and honest about it. And yeah, let's see, maybe on Twitter or something. No, I don't know. I don't see anything about this on the news. I don't see anything about it on the news, so I don't know. I know Beyonce's supposed to be in town tomorrow to do a halftime show. Okay. I also think that hold on. You might find this interesting. Let's see. Can I find this? Give me one moment. I mean, you could give me all the time that that I need. I'm trying to find something, but um hmm, I made some like a just some art stuff in 20. Maybe I even put it on my on my Twitters. I mean, not on my Twitters, on my old Facebook. No, I don't know. I can't find it. I'll look for it later, but just like the imagery that I had made just seems to be like the imagery Beyonce is using for this whatever halftime show she's doing. So it's more stuff that I'm just making a point that like it just seems like something aimed at me. Okay. Also, interestingly enough, I as I look this up, let's go back. Remember that it's talking about a signer token, blah blah blah. But when you go here and it talks about the look, so I saw one of his heads. How about this one? American Standard Version, and I saw one of his heads as though it had been smitten unto death, and his death stroke was healed, and the whole world wondered after the beast. The word for wonder here is to wonder, to marvel at. Uh, in Hebrew, I think it's pala or pla, pay lamed Aleph or Pelamed Hey or something like that. Pala, but it just ends up looking like the word Pele. Um, so to wonder at a thing, a wonderful thing, a marvel, and even the word marvel is the thing that is used in marvel is the word, like wonder and marvel seem to be associated with each other, like in both Hebrew and Greek, to wonder at a thing or to marvel at it. Which is interesting. I also put something together about Iron Man in my um, Beyonce mix here recently. But okay, I pulled the Quran out because my whole point is that in this, so you got 82 here. Okay, this is what I'm saying. So I believe the version that I'm reading out of is down here. It is the Yusuf Ali Abdullah, the slave of Allah, Yusuf Ali, Abdullah Yusuf Ali translation. So let's try to find that one so that you can be on the same page literally as I am. This isn't the one, but I think this is it. Neither this would I just saw this and this makes sense. Neither art thou a guide of the blind, neither art thou the guide of the blind out of their errors. None truly shalt make thou make shall none truly shalt thou make to hear but those who believe our signs, and they are Muslims, or they have become Muslims. So I believe the people who believe the signs and submit to it, and this could be why the whole like Islamist thing is, they're trying to make a point, like they wouldn't even say, like Lester Holt wouldn't even say that car is like, I guess people are either for Christianity or Islam, or like maybe behind me and I represent Christianity, and then whatever this other thing is represents Islam. And it looks like I don't know what the fuck is going on, but I'm also really patient, and like Yahweh knows exactly what's going on and he can clue me in like that. But it's also like, you know, Yahweh would send a deluding spirit to delude the people so that they do what it. So okay, this is the one I think I have here. I don't know if it's this Saudi revision of 1985, but let's see. It's close enough. I'll say this. It's close enough. Maybe I can see this. Does it have the other version? Yeah, this is the one. This is the one that I have. The original. It says obsolete or older versions. Um, Nor canst thou be a guide to the blind to prevent them from straying. Only those wilt thou get to listen who believe in our signs, and they will bow in Islam. So that sounds exactly like what it's saying in um, here. They see that this wound was healed, and the whole world marvels at it after the beast, right? Or wonders at it after this bestial like man is whose wound is healed. So I mean, is that what's going on with Trump? Because the Trump Kushner peace plan is like literally Saudi Arabia and 10 other, the kingdom of Saudi Arabia and 10 other Islamic countries, seemingly, I don't know, some kind of peace plan. And remember, I always heard that there's like some ingenious man or something that comes and does some kind of peace plan and fools a whole bunch of people. This is normal Christian eschatology. Like, you go on YouTube, there's plenty of things that are talking about the Antichrist being some kind of man. Remember, Antichrist isn't a word that's used in Revelation. There's the beast from the sea. There's Satan, the dragon, or the serpent. Those are all one character. It's just Satan. So you can say Satan is the dragon and is the serpent of old. Then there's the beast from the sea, and then there's the beast from the earth. And the beast from the sea seems to be a number of sovereigns and stuff like that. And my guess is Satan is someone operating in the background who's able to reach at any sovereign and strike at anything, maybe other than me. I mean, I think I might be, because of the position that I'm in as the one conquering at the seven churches, protected to the degree that I can do what I'm doing. Um, and that at the point that Satan does make us like strike out at me to try to strike out at me, it doesn't work, and it leads to him being cast out of heaven. In other words, he no longer has authority on earth. He no longer has authority in the heavens, like up in space. Um, it's a person who is trying to steal away everything in their timeline. If they're able to steal away everything in the darkness, they could go into the distant future, into heavens, into whatever. Um, Probably someone with a space company of their own or something. I don't know. Something like that, maybe. I don't know. But in the least, it's something that's in the heavenly places, in the space places, in the heavenly places, and they're knocked out of their high position and brought back down to earth. And from that point, there's 1,260 days left until we are in the kingdom of heaven, and that person and everybody that follows them is in the burning lake. So 1,260 days approximately. There could be a 3.5 day period somewhere in there because that's what it says. But I don't know if that's part of the 1,260 days or whatever. I don't. Also, the 5 month period that I've talked about, I don't know if that's part of the 3.5 year period or 1,260 day period or if it's later. But anyway, the three bad guys are Satan, Beast from the Sea, Beast from the Earth. Beast from the Earth is clearly something Islamic raised to, like I'm talking about. I'm literally describing what it says in Islam and what it says in Christianity. I am going to read this one, but my version is slightly different. So this says, nor canst thou, and mine says, nor can you. Wait, maybe I should just read this one because that's. No, they're both, like, I guess they're both slight. This is maybe an even more revised version, but I'll just read it from here. Nor can you guide the blind to prevent them from straying. Only those will you get to listen who believe in our signs, and they will bow in Islam. Remember, Allah, for some whatever reason, I think it's maybe some kind of communist deity or something, but Allah, because Palestine is literally powered by Russia. That's why Ukraine and Palestine are on the same side. Israel and Palestine, Israel and Ukraine would technically be on like the same side, fighting the same. If you just have straight black and white sides, Russia, Iran, Iran's proxies, China, North Korea, anything aligned with them. On the other side, America, Europe, the Five Eyes nations, Israel, Ukraine, that type of thing. And the best example is that um, when weapons were being transited to the Hezbollah fighters through a Russian airbase, Israel struck the Russian airbase. And what is Russia like? Russia at this point has kind of almost been kicked out of the Middle East, and now which means they're cut off from Africa. That's one of the reasons why I think maybe the Gog and Magog thing happens. I think Putin's about to get increasingly desperate to Putin and Khomeini and all these people are about to get increasingly desperate because they're seeing their powers going away and that they're on the wrong side of things, and then they go even further on the wrong side of things, and that's the whole army that comes down and attacks Israel, Gog and Magog, and the events of Revelation are it's also from Ezekiel 38 and 39 or 37 and 38. I think it's 38 and 39, and that's Revelation 20. And so then it says, and when the word is fulfilled against them, the unjust, we shall produce from the earth a beast to face them. He will speak to them, for that mankind did not believe with assurance in our signs. One day we shall gather together from every people a troop of those who rejected our signs, and they shall be kept in ranks until when they come before the judgment seat. The Bema judgment seat that Jesus sits on is what Allah sits on in this. So, and this is again considerably newer, 500 years in the least after the final book of Revelation, in the Bible. So the final book of the Bible, this is 500 years after that, and it's just a clear Arab knockoff. So until when they come before the judgment seat. See, so we just read this. You can pause it and go back. Yeah, you can pause this, and this is the one I've already read that one multiple times. So this is the one where it says, until they come before the judgment seat. Bema judgment seat of Christ, right? You get this? So again, Allah, the first and the last, according to the Quran. Well, that's a title of Jesus in Revelation, and that's a title of Yahweh that's something Yahweh says of himself in Isaiah. So again, Allah is a cheap intellectual property knockoff, being powered by magic and AI and all sorts of bullshit, and it's toxic to humanity. It's literal cancer. This is the whole thing. It's given something's trying to give me cancer, and Yahweh's protecting me, and it's recoiling back on all sorts of other people and hurting all sorts of people. So if cancer has affected you recently, it's not that Yahweh wants you to have cancer. Yahweh wants a place where people don't die anymore. Whatever this is literally a death cult that's trying to steal away reality. I'm going to suggest from everybody, but if it can do it to me, it can do it to you. And so it's trying to make a point to me. And to you through me. So until they come before the judgment seat, Allah will say, did you reject my signs? So the beast seems to be maybe even Allah actually. Like whoever the beast from the earth is that is speaking for Allah, like they're a prophet of Allah. In the Old Testament, the prophet of Yahweh would say, I am Yahweh. Where was that person Yahweh? No, they were a prophet of Yahweh. But in the same way, that's what is going on in the Quran here. Did you reject my signs, though you comprehended them, not in knowledge, or what was it you did? And then it says in number 87, so we're going to skip ahead a little bit here. And the day that the trumpet will be sounded. I mean, this is fucking Revelation. I mean, it's just they're stealing out of the book of Revelation. Then will be smitten with terror those who are in the heavens and those who are on earth, except such as Allah will please to exempt. And all shall come to his presence as being conscious of their lowliness. You see the mountains and think them firmly fixed, but they shall pass away as clouds pass away. Such is the artistry of Allah, who disposes of all things in perfect order, for he is well acquainted with all that you do. And then maybe the most obvious thing here is, for me, I have been commanded to serve the Lord of this city, him who has sanctified it and to whom it belongs, all things, and I am commanded to be of those who bow in Islam to Allah's will. I mean, is this just Saudi oil money or like a bunch of rich Arab oil money being spent to try to take over Houston? Because if they probably did it to all other cities in the United States because it would be really easy to manipulate people. I'm a bit harder headed than, most things, and Houston's a bit more Christian than most places. So it would probably be difficult to take this city over using those means if I'm here. Especially if I'm, I don't hear anybody else, even Christian apologists, which it should be pretty obvious to most Christian apologists. Yeah, the beast from the earth in Islam is clearly the beast from the earth in Revelation. It's not even fucking, there's no question to me. No question. It is the same character, except Allah raises the beast from the earth in Islam, and Satan empowers the beast of the earth in Revelation. Again, Satan is Baal. That's why I think it's Baal secretly. But again, that's why also I think Buddha is like being empowered by Baal or one of these other deities, because in the Legend of the Monkey King, like I said, and as the great sage advanced, he suddenly saw five flesh pink pillars supporting a massive green air. This must be the end of the road, he said. When I go back presently, this Buddha, which is a different Buddha than Gautama, so maybe this is the whole thing, is like Buddha has his own problems. Other people are claiming to be at his level or something. Anyway, will be my witness, and I shall certainly take up residence in the palace. Like, this could be Baal or something. You get what I mean? Like, and maybe Gautama's not. I don't know. Will be my witness, and I shall certainly take up residence in the palace of the divine mists. But he thought to himself, wait a moment. This is Goku, by the way. This character, Monkey King, is Goku from Dragon Ball Z, or Dragon Ball Z Goku is based on him. But he thought to himself, wait a moment, I'd better leave some kind of memento if I'm going to negotiate with this other Buddha. So he plucked a hair from his head and blew a mouthful of magic breath into it, crying, change, and it changed into a writing brush with extra thick hair soaked in heavy ink. On the middle pillar, he wrote the following line: the great sage, equal to heaven, has made a tour of this place. When he finished writing, he retrieved his hair, and with a total lack of respect, he left a bubbling pool of monkey urine at the base of the first pillar. Yeah, sounds like me. Because I'm pissing all over Islam. That's for sure. Because it's just clearly a bunch of Arab oil money and racist Arabs, and like even the KKK is empowering. The KKK's handbook is called the Quran. If you take like Ku Klux or Klan, either of those, you mix it with the word Quran, you get Chloron. And like I said the other day, like, look at this. If these Palestinian terrorists don't look like remember, they KKK hates Jews too. But if these dudes don't look like they're in the fucking KKK, I don't know who would look like they're in the KKK to you. So, and it had to happen right after I had the thought. That's what I'm saying. Like, when they say your phone, you have this thing and you think a thing and then your phone somehow says it. I think they got a big enough computer on me, um, to where they're doing that to me with like reality using different types of magic. But I think I have a quantum computer that I legally own, and we're about at the point where it makes its appearance. I don't think we're that far away. And, something like Bitcoin, you know what I mean? Where it's like extra encryption, and they're using a lot of stuff to make this currency that could even be used to empower all this stuff. I don't know. But it gets completely broken by a quantum computer. A quantum computer, literally, Bitcoin is worthless because you could break into any of the wallets like that. Whereas, like, now, it would require a computer of like billions of years or some shit like that. Supercomputers would take, millions or billions of years, something like that. But a quantum computer could do it in like 5 minutes or less. So, we're just moving towards that time because it seems like I have all the technology, all the power, all the intelligence, all the wisdom that I need. Um, yeah, so that ends this chapter that I was talking about, but that should be enough to tell you what I'm getting at. Or not just tell you, to confirm what I'm getting at, that this is going on. Now, I don't know if it has anything to do with Trump or not. Trump doesn't seem to be directly an ally of Islam, But these are people who lie about everything, so I don't know. Um, I will say the whole Trump Kushner thing. It's didn't Kushner own a place like 666 something West Ave, like some kind of place in New York where the address was 666, and I think he's a Jewish guy, but again, Judaism doesn't have these characters. Like literally, they would have. It seems to me like in order for this thing to work, whatever Judaism does exist now, the people would either have to make a choice of being Messianic Jews or they would have to follow whatever this thing is. But I think whatever this thing is ends up having enough power to assert over the government of Israel, um, for whatever reason. And again, my guess is, are the two witnesses like Bibi Netanyahu, the two witnesses from um, Revelation here? Hold on, I'm gonna pull this back up. Ooh, it's looking interesting. Um, like in Christian, like I've heard a lot or a number of times they think it's Enoch and Elijah, but here it says that whoever this is repents in sackcloth and ashes, and or they, I shall send my two witnesses. Like, okay, then I was given a long cane as a measuring rod, and I was told, go and measure God's sanctuary and the altar and the people who worship there, but leave out the outer court and do not measure it because it has been handed over to the pagans. They will then trample on the holy city for 42 months. That's the 1260 days. That is the 3.5 years from clearly the book of Revelation, but also the book of Daniel. So if you're Jewish, you can't get around this because it hadn't happened yet, and clearly this is what is going on here. Something. So even that's what I'm saying. Like, Bibi Netanyahu, is this you? Because like, I wasn't engaged a while back as to this. I'm not positive. Is it the head of the Mossad? Because I seem to be ahead of even their pager thing. It's pretty clear Yahweh's been like cluing me in on some of this stuff. 10 years ago, they set up the pager thing. You know what I did 10 years ago? Set up the J Electronica putting him onto the road to perdition thing, or at least like trying to, either he's coming off or he's on the road to perdition actually as like the guy from the end of the book, something like that, because that's what it seems like. Um, because that was almost exactly 10 years ago, as like in November of 2014. So and he's just been hiding since then. And it does seem to have something to do with Beyonce too. That this whole thing, him making a song called Renaissance Man, and then an Act One, Act Two, all this stuff, and then Beyonce all of a sudden doing this same kind of trope. I mean, I could guess that maybe Beyonce's Jezebel, and this is what the whole thing is about. Just paid off by like her and Sean Carter. What's the Book of Clarence? What's the Nation of Islam? Like a bunch of black men selling themselves and their people out to a bunch of Arabs who, whatever. Even like I say in that tweet that I showed in the other video. Remember, Jay Electronica wants to call himself the Grand Wizard Imperial or something like that. I mean, it just seems too. It makes too much sense what I'm talking about when you're looking at all that. So, um, but I shall send my two witnesses to prophesy for those 1260 days wearing sackcloth. In other words, they have fucked up. They are repentant. Wearing sackcloth is something you do when you fucked up and you wear sackcloth and ashes. You take off your nice clothes and you wear, you know, you wear sackcloth and you put ashes on your face or on your body, and you just like I fucked up. I'm sorry, Yahweh. That's what I'm trying to say. These are the two olive branches and the two lamps that stand before the Lord of the world. Fire can come from their mouths and consume their enemies if anyone tries to harm them. And if anyone does try to harm them, he will certainly be killed in this way. They are able to lock up the sky so that it does not rain as long as they are prophesying. They are able to turn water into blood and strike the whole world with any plague that as they like. When they have completed their witnessing, the beast that comes out of the abyss is going to make war on them and overcome them and kill them. Their corpses will lie in the main street of the great city known by the symbolic name Sodom in Egypt, in which their Lord was crucified. Now, I don't know if that's symbolic or if it's literally just saying the great city is Jerusalem because that's where Jesus was crucified. Or it could be this city here in Houston, Texas, and I'm the guy on the throne of Yahweh, and they did some kind of really evil rape attack on me when I was, a minor, and they've been trying to cover it up using magic and resources, oil money, like tons of money and shit like that. They've used the law itself. Like here in America, the government is immune to like as if they're a sovereign in for other nations. Sovereigns are immune a lot of the time to the law prosecuting them. Here in America, the government is immune, and much like Trump now has a form of immunity afforded to him by being the president, I could imagine something like I feel like Obama would have had to have known the whole thing with Alessandro Ambrosio was happening, where I was 16 and I like seemingly was forced bred without my permission and consent. And these are the same people that say you cannot consent until you're 18, and the government here seemed to have participated in the attack on me. So if I was able to prove that out, yeah, I would have sovereignty. I would be the guy on the throne of Yahweh. All these people would be toast. Men out of every race, language, and nation will stare at their corpses for 3.5 days, not letting them be buried, and the people of the world will be glad about it and celebrate the event by giving presents to each other because these two prophets have been a plague on the people of the world. I didn't, this was difficult for me to believe. I mean, I could believe it, but I was just like, what would this look like? But when I see how all these Arabs and all sorts of people around the world, like that are somehow on the side of Palestine, which isn't a real nation that never has actually existed, and they're just willing to knowingly hold up a lie in order to try to, I guess, undermine God or something. Um, you know, I can see how like they were giving out candies and sweets to each other when it was happening. What's going on with the feed? Just having some issue here. I mean, I guess it is a volcano in Hawaii. It's not like they have the best internet connection there. Okay. After 3.5 days, like the amount of time Jesus was dead, God raised them to life. God breathed life into them, and they stood up, and everyone that saw it was terrified. Then they heard a loud voice from heaven say to them, "Come up here." And while their enemies were watching, they went up to heaven in a cloud. Immediately, there was a violent earthquake, and a tenth of the city collapsed. 7,000 persons were killed in the earthquake, and the survivors, overcome with fear, could only praise the God of heaven. And then, hey, that thing from it is from Revelation, but that thing that was then stolen intellectual property in in the Quran, the seventh trumpet. So it's like literally right before the part or after the part that this is going on, because like I'm saying, I think this 1260-day period is the 1260 days mentioned here. Else, this is what the 7 years is about. It's a 2520-day period where you got the witnesses, and then you got the mark of the beast period. But I don't. This is what I think it is. You have the witnesses is the same 1260-day period as the you know woman escaping into the desert, uh, having a place to be looked after for 1260 days. And then Michael and his angels fight the dragon, and the dragon fights back with his angels. Again, Satan has angels. So is this either the Victoria's Secret models are angels for Yahweh or they're angels for Satan? And the way it seems like Alessandra Ambrosio is treating me is that they're angels for Satan. And I assume that's the idea of Charlie's angels. Like my dad in Vietnam, they were looking for Charlie. That's the enemy. If they're Charlie's angels, I don't know. Is that King Charles or some other sovereign doing some wicked bullshit? But in any instance, they're Satan's angels. It seems because they do not seem to be representative of Yahweh or anything good. They seem to be abusive women that are poisonous and venomous, and you know they're giving everybody cancer, and what they're doing is hurting people. They're like Typhoid Mary, except there's a whole bunch of them, and all their efforts are being aimed at almost specifically me. It seems like at this point, um, but if I could undo it, all of them are gonna die, and they go in this too. And like, so what? You're hot women. I don't give a fuck. So what? You like you bred me without my permission, and then parts my kids. My kids treat me like shit. It seems like so. You know, it is what it is. They don't treat me well. They don't even engage that I exist. They don't, they don't do anything good for me that I can see. They just are psychological abuse tools for these women and for whoever these Satan characters are. So, or whatever these evil characters in Revelation are. So, if they are good, cool. I'm glad I have kids. But if not, fuck them. They go in the burning lake too. It's not like I really give a fuck if they're that evil. That's just what it is. Do I seem like a sociopath? Oh, that's what they've been trying to turn me into for the longest time, except it's aimed at them now and not like me doing evil shit to people around me. I think that's how people normally react like this. They go fucking crazy and they start killing people or something. And yeah, that's not me. I don't want to do that. Yeah. So, um, I got too much to gain if this is true, and I got too much to lose if this is true. You know what I mean? And if it's not true, I won't know until it's all done anyway. So I can't like those aren't some, and I wouldn't do that anyway because it's just not in my constitution. So all right, and then you have the beast stuff. Um, Captivity for those who are destined for captivity. That's what it feels like to me. Like I'm in some kind of box, but I'm not completely captive. I'm just like not free. They're like literally trying to box me in at every dimension using, like I said, a bunch of powerful computers, a bunch of wizards, a bunch of evil or women. Um, I don't know. Like are my neighbors? I got a picture from my neighbors. I've been talking about kids, and then is one of the girls from Bia Arab, BIA Arabe. It almost looks like B an Arab or Bia Arab. Is one of Anja Ambrosio's friends or relatives, maybe? Because I think maybe is that me and Brittany Mackey's kid or something? Like I don't know. She looks like Brittany Mackey, but it went into my story and pictures, and some weird shit's going on. But then are my neighbors' kids my kids? Like this is what I'm talking about. Like what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like what the fuck? That's kind of where I'm at with this. Hold on. Okay. We had Christmas dinner. I'd just make a point. Also, like, look, Cara del Toro went to the Dominican Republic. 3 days later, the Dominican Republic is flooding. 3 days after she gets home. Um, the whole Ethiopia like volcano seemed to be right after whatever's going on there. But yeah, right after I had this post where like this girl again looks a lot like a combination. Like if you look at her nose and her other features, it just looks like a combination of me and Brittany Mackey, who I went to high school with. So I don't know, something going on there because that's what it seems like to me. And the butterfly things is that's how many kids I have, lots, something like that. And this is the girl. And the whole point with this was I followed her because not only is she Andra's friend, but I mean, I kind of like, is that my daughter? But then, like, and so I followed her to make a point. I requested a follow, and then you know I shared this, and then went and looked, and she had denied my request, just like Anja Poop blocked me. So it's like, yeah. I mean, what is the whole point of this? You know what I mean? It just seems like I think Anja's actual account is just fake. I'm sure she could be an OnlyFans model. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what people are doing. Uh, Noah Ambrosio could have slept with or have a kid with Stephanie Jewston. I mean, it's all like there are all sorts of evil things these people could be doing to me. I just like at this point we're at the end of the Bible. I know that, so it's like I'm not too worried. I just don't know exactly where and when, but we're here at the end of the Bible. It's not that we're not there, but then like all of a sudden, this girl is from Florianopolis, or Alessandra Ambrosius from Rio Grande do Sul, and then oh hey, there's a plane falls out of the sky, and look, it's a Buddha. I don't think the Buddha really helped there, but if you go up here where I have all this stuff, uh, hey look, she's in a plane, right? And then even the what is it? Hey, look, it's Skeletor. Did I even show that the other day? I could have. I don't know. Oh, I think I did. But hold on. I'm like, hey, it's the leopard thing, the Ethiopia thing, and yeah, here. So like this was exactly 1260 days before that, and it's like there's a lot of airplane symbolism there, right? And specifically this hot Ethiopian Victoria's Secret model. I mean, she's American, but like Ethiopian, I guess ethnically. Um, and all of a sudden, planes start falling out of the sky, bridges start collapsing in Brazil. Ethiopia starts having a seismic volcano-related swarm. Sakurajima erupts for the first time in a while. There's like a large enough earthquake in Ethiopia that it registers with the USGS. Um, Whatever was going on in like Alessandra went to Miami, and then all of a sudden after I share hold on after I share this stuff, there's like the shootout scene with the KKK thing. In it, a boat explodes on the water in Florida. And then the other day, like right after I posted that, a boat exploded on the water, like made the news for exploding on the water and killing someone in Florida. Santa Cruz, where Jason Coppola, like not right there, but Bay Area, so like NorCal and around the Bay Area, all of a sudden the pier collapsed um, due to a Meteo tsunami caused by storm stuff, and then Kilauea all of a sudden restarted, and it's just like all this shit in a row. But this is what I was saying. Are these my kids too? I don't know, because like when I look, it just feels like I'm looking at like they got certain similar features to me, but I could just be wrong on this. But also one thing that I noticed is like that necklace that she's wearing is that spiral design thing that is like supposed to be related to like hey WikiLeaks. This thing, right? One of these like spiral design things. I don't know if this is actually a real thing. I mean, it's from WikiLeaks, and I could believe that this is a real thing from 2007. That one says boy lover. I don't know. Um, if we go to child trafficking symbols, mm, how about this? Child trafficking spiral symbols. I don't know. It could be the Pizzagate stuff, but let's look. There's some symbols here that I already showed you the one that I'm talking about. I mean, it looks close enough. I think the girl version is like a pink one that's doing the same thing. Um, could also stand for the death spiral, but boy love, girl love, child love. I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, is it some group of pedophiles? Like, is Obama? Because you had to have known if you're the president. There, like, I think they would have had to have allowed whatever happened with Alessandro Ambrosio to happen to me, where I've been bred without my permission. Obama seems to have also done a bunch of stuff that is like, empowering of Iran, um, despite the fact that it's unwise and just like it doesn't make any sense. And he's also hanging around Louis Farrakhan in certain pictures. So I don't know. I don't want to be sitting here judging either Obama or Trump on stuff that they haven't done. This is why people need to speak out into my reality instead of just like not pretending this isn't happening, because this is coming down on you regardless. If you engage it, it's probably better for, no, it's not me. Okay, can you prove it? Do you know what's going on with this? You know what I'm saying? So like, um, anyway, but this is WikiLeaks. This is why I'm like, well, this is a WikiLeaks document. There's a reason they put him in jail. It's because this was real intel, this was real classified documents, though this one's unclassified. But this is real stuff that was released, and so this symbol that is on. I could just be crazy though. I don't know. Right? That definitely looks like either of those, both of those. Um, so I don't know. I even think in one of my storm videos, as I was walking by, I talked to one of them, or maybe both of them. But like when I look at my nose compared to either of their nose, I don't know what both of like I don't have pictures of both their parents where I can just look for a moment and see like are their noses, do they look like that? I mean, I could just be totally off base and that exactly fits both their noses. I don't know. I did think it was weird that it was almost immediately after I did this whole thing indicating, like showing this thing, like, do I have a bunch of kids or is this what I'm getting for this? Is a bunch of kids for this? Which is cool. I would love that. But is it, do I get a boy with Brittany Mackey or something? Do I have a boy with Brittany Mackey? I just like, I don't know. So, just trying to figure out what all this is. Like they brought over these cookies, which I'm gonna be honest, these were delicious cookies. Um, Also the Rossmans. I mean, there's another Rossman, Louis Rossman. He does stuff on YouTube where he fights for right to repair stuff. So I don't know. It's not a bad last name. I think they're Jewish. If that's, but probably they got some Christmas stuff out there, so they probably are like a Christian slash Jewish family. So maybe messianic. I'm not sure. And I don't know if this is the symbol for boy love. I mean, is that it, or is she a boy, or I don't know. Is the message here like I don't know? They're like, what is the message here? I'm trying to like. I don't think anything happens for no reason, and this was immediately after I did this whole thing. Are these my daughters? That's my point. Like, actually, are they literally my biological daughters? I don't know. Um, I definitely feel like I've been bred without my permission. I can say this: Andre Ambrosio's nose here looks a lot like mine, mixed with Alessandra's, and like Issa's here looks a bit, but definitely Anja's looks like she just looks literally like if you took Alessandro Ambrosio and me and just same thing with Noah Ambrosio. I feel like so I don't know, but remember the whole one of the ways that they did this is the whole Jamie Mazur guy is like, well then they got like a guy that looked like maybe he could be my like some kind of body double or something. Like, is that why this is the what's that called, like Metal Gear Solid Ahab and Ishmael IP. And it's just a knockoff of what's going on with me, and the Death Stranding IP, which is the one of the ways that Japan or some other place might be snaking away my IP, is through like really difficult to take baby things like the fourth beast thing from the Book of Revelation that seems to be a horn sprouting from somewhere, where it's maybe like some kind of baby. If I already have kids with a woman and then you assert another baby over me, despite the fact that even those kids were like not with my consent. So I've been raped like in multiple ways, and that's why this thing is able to blaspheme for 1260 days or whatever, is that it's like a really difficult fucked up thing. But once the court decides that yes, this is my IP, the whole thing falls apart. And like, this is the fate that awaits those people, which is why Yahweh is making a point to literally like, yeah, there is a sulfur lake that you could be thrown into. I mean, just in physical reality. So you should be fucking terrified if this is what you're doing behind the scenes. If you're not, then you don't have anything to be fearful of. I guess everybody, this is the threat for everybody. But whatever Satan character is trying to do this kind of rapey shit related to IP and stealing away my reality, you're going in there directly. Like, I would be happy to like get some team of like Delta guys or something and chopper Satan over this thing, and I'll kick him out the fucking helicopter myself into the fucking volcano. Like, yeah, you know, I don't know. I'm not gonna say my KD would be 1-0 there, because I think if this is all going on and it really is connected to me, my KD is way higher than that. But especially if the storm stuff is related to me, that would mean my KD's like untouchable. But not that I need or want particularly a high KD. I'd be happy with the one. I guess with the three: the beast from the earth, the beast from the sea, and Satan himself. I'll take a 3-0 KD or whatever. I don't know. I've brought this up. Is it some kind of seven samurai thing or seven hitman type thing where you get seven men, like the thing I've been talking about with Alessandra Ambrosio and her current boyfriend Buck is like he number. We got Jamie Mazur, Nicola Odie, Rich Lee, Buck. Yeah, he'd be number 4, and since Jezebel herself seems to be number 4, that would be the final one for her, and then she's gone. But then, and then all those men plus any men that were participating in this plus all Alessandra's friends, you're all like, it says you will be persecuted to the point of death if you do not repent. So, is it something like that, or is Alessandra trying to like clue me in that this is some other woman? Probably not, but whatever. I'm eternally hopeful. This is one of the reasons I'm this person, is I'm eternally hopeful. Um, but not eternally naive. I'm just patient. All right, I'm gonna end this here. I'm also gonna say that the whole thing that was going on here is gone. So yeah, that's it. One last look at the lava here. But remember, this all started with me bringing up the fatal wound to the head, and my whole thing with that talking about Trump is like I can't think of like if it's already happened and we're about 5 months from that exactly, 5 months and 10 days, both time periods mentioned in Revelation. Well, I would suggest, and that's probably what it's talking about. Especially with the whole Trump Kushner peace plan. I mean, it just seems like. Hold on, I'll even try to pull something up. Mm, like if I type in Antichrist peace plan, uh, like this. Oh, this is 100 Huntley, so we can watch this. We'll watch this. Whatever this is, I haven't watched it. I don't. It's just like what I'm talking about, right? And it's talking about Daniel 9:27. So we could even pull up Daniel 9:27. And whoever the 10 kings are plus the king, they get to control things for an hour, and I think it's because it's been set up like an FBI sting or something. Like they're allowed to do it so that when they take power and hold on to it for an hour, they were never actually in charge. It was always allowed, and then they get snatched up, and like all the evidence is against them, and then it's a court case. That's what this is all about. And I don't even think that what all the beasts make it that long. Like I think this beast gets killed. This says the other beasts receive, so like Either this is the beast from the sea or the beast from the earth. But the other beasts are deprived for their power, but receive a lease for a season and a time. So, since it talks about these being uh, a time, 2 times, and a half time, I don't know how long a season is. I would assume maybe 3 months or something, or could be 6 months, but I think it's 3 months probably. And but I don't know, it's for something, a season and a year. So it seems that 2 years into the maybe 2 years and 3 months into the 1260 days, it's already been decided by the court case, and one of the beasts is killed by the like by burning lake or something. It's destroyed, committed to the flames. You get what I'm saying? Um, in fact, it seems to suggest Revelation 19. We can even go look at who this character is at Revelation 19:20. Right? You see this Revelation 19:20 here. So we're gonna go look at who that is, whether that's the beast from the sea, the beast from the earth, or Satan. I think it's probably the beast from the earth, but like the false prophet. But let's see. And I saw the beast with all the kings, so the beast from the sea with all the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to fight the rider and his army. I think that's me, or me and Jesus, or Jesus and me, or something, or Jesus, just Jesus. I don't know that, but I think I'm involved in this pretty intimately. But the beast, because again, if you're conquering at the seven churches, this is you, and I think since I'm conquering at the seven churches, I think that's me. But the beast was taken prisoner together with the false prophet who had worked the miracles on the beast's behalf, and by them deceived all who was branded with the mark of the beast and worshipped his statue. These two were thrown alive into the fiery lake of burning sulfur, and the rest were killed by the sword of the rider which came out of his mouth, and all the birds were gorged with their flesh. And this, all the birds were gorged with their flesh, is in Ezekiel 39:20 from Gog and Magog. But interestingly enough, it's something that I brought up in here. Hold on. Because speaking of Ethiopia and the Kushites and what's going on, uh, even before the stuff started popping off in Ethiopia, part of this is Islam is inherently racist. It's an Arab like religion, but Muhammad was a white Arab, and he owned black slaves. One of them being Anjasha, an Ethiopian, and it's directly like attested to in the Hadith. So it's not something that you can get away from. But this very clearly says, "For thus Yahweh speaks to me from where I am, my gaze untroubled, like the clear heat produced by the light, by light like a dewy mist on in the heat of harvest. For before the vintage, once the flowering is over and blossoms turn into ripening grape, the tendrils are cut back with a pruning knife, the shoots taken off, cut away." So look at what this says. They will all be abandoned together to the birds of the prey in the mountains and the beasts of the earth. The birds of prey will summer on them, and the beasts of the earth will winter on them. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like this. In fact, specifically, it sounds kind of like this, or like I saw an angel standing in the sun. He shouted to all the birds that were flying overhead in the sky, "Come and gather for the great feast that God is giving. There will be flesh of kings for you, the flesh of great generals and heroes, the flesh of heroes and riders of all kinds, men and citizens and slaves, small and great." So, yeah. Um, so let's go back to Daniel real fast so that we can look at this. Right, it says 927. So we'll go to 927 here. He will make a covenant with many, like the you mean the peace plan with kingdom and then 10 other Islamic kingdoms for the space of, or Islamic nations, for the space of a week, and for the space of 1/2 week, he will put a stop to sacrifice and oblation, and on the wing of the temple will be assigned the disastrous abomination until the end, uh, until the doom is assigned to the devastator. So something like this, but it's hard to tell what this is representative of uh in Revelation, because this is seemingly the part where Jesus was killed in the, like, this had to have been by the time Jesus came, I think. That's generally the idea behind it. But it does just say what it says, so it could be this. And you know, is there a third temple? I don't know. It's not talking about a third temple, it's just talking about there is a temple when this is written. But I don't know, by Christian standards, the temple is the body of Christ, I think. So, or something like that. Anyway, let's watch the Antichrist will make a peace treaty with Israel.
Of the beast. How's it fit into the? What's this mark of the beast? How's
I haven't vetted this at all. I don't know
what's
what
this?
my whole point with this is that generally it's thought of that the Antichrist, or I'm going to say the beast from the sea to be specific, because again, there is no Antichrist. There's a bunch of Antichrists. That's what First or Second John says. It's anybody who has the spirit of the Antichrist, and the spirit of the Antichrist is this: that they deny that Jesus has come in the flesh, that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh, something like that. Hold on. Every spirit, I will go ESV. Every spirit that does not confess Jesus is not from God. This is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you heard was coming and is now already in the world already. And that's it says even that there are many Antichrists in the same book. But let's listen to this. So again, there's no character called the Antichrist. There's a beast from the sea, a beast from the earth, and Satan.
Mark of the beast. How's it fit into the narrative?
Well, the Bible tells us in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 18 about this mark of the beast. It's the only time that the Bible really refers to it. And the word mark there in the Greek language means it like a tattoo, really, or an etching or something that's scratched into something. So it says it's going to be upon the right hand or the forehead. And it says you can't buy or sell if you don't have the mark of the beast. Now, people wonder all about this. Is it some kind of chip that's under the skin, or computer chip, or barcode? There's been all kinds of speculation. The mark of the beast is 666 there in the book of Revelation. And
if 6 is a number meaning man or human, 666 could be, that's how we read it, 3 men. So that's one way to look at it. This is also the amount of, like, I don't know, something to do with Goliath, and who's a Palestinian or a Philistine, something to do with the weapons that he carried. But it could just be someone who's really in love with this number, 666 or 666 or whatever.
what I think this is it says there that it's the number of a man's name. Now, some have taken 666 to be one short of 777. In other words, God is perfection with 7, and this shows that this Antichrist who says he's God is actually 666. But I think it's actually going to be the numerical value of his name. In other words, you can, like in the Greek and Hebrew language, you can take the letters of the alphabet, they have numerical value. And so you can take a person's name and actually
What he's talking about is called gematria.
Add that up and you come up with a number. So I think his name will actually equal 666. That's how he'll be identified. So when people take that mark on their right hand or forehead, they'll actually be taking his name upon them, which pictures the idea of ownership.
Is this during the time of Antichrist, when Antichrist is
Yes.
Oh, I'll say this. I brought up the whole Mr. Beast thing. Mr. is a title meaning Lord, actually, despite the fact that here in America we call each other Mr. or Mrs. whatever, because we're like, it's like treating everybody like you'd want to be treated. But Lord Beast. If you did that, it would be the something like that. And if he's the owner of some people, he would be the Mister. It would be like the Master. That's where like Meister or Mister. It's Master. It's the word Master. So anyway, all right.
It's at his prominent place in the world of leadership, and basically the execution of how economy is done will be through this mark.
That's right. It's going to be that last 3.5 years.
I also want to say, as this is going on, I'm looking at this, and there's like a bunch of lightning going on in the background. It's pretty like because I can see it on that computer, and then I can see Lakewood Church on that computer. It's no longer having all those uh, emergency vehicles over there, but I can also see lightning now on both of them. So, and we're a few hours away from when it's supposed to be here. In fact, we could look at. Oh, there's tornadoes going on. Yeah, there's been some tornadoes today. Let's see where this is. Maybe this is closer than. It looks like the line of storms is a bit closer than I thought, or it's closer than it was supposed to be at this time. I think I might end this video after watching this, and like maybe while this video is going. I don't know. Here, let's just watch the video so that I can get ready for this. Okay? So.
Years, I take it, of this coming time of 7 years of tribulation on the earth when he's going to rule the world. So not only will there be a one world government, but there will be a one world economy. And we can see how that can happen today very, very easily.
The tribulation period, as you understand it, is a 7-year period according to biblical truth. Most do see it divided into two.
Give me a minute. He says a 7-year period. Like I said, it doesn't say a 7-year period. That's just people making the assumption that those are consecutive periods in the Bible when it's talking about like from one chapter to the next. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that it's talking about separate periods of time like that. I think it's legitimately just the same period of time from different vantage points. So that's what it seems like to me, because that's what makes the most sense. Because otherwise, there's more than 7 years. If you're actually reading it consecutively, it's like 3.5 years, then 3.5 years, then 3.5 years. If you actually read Revelation consecutively, it's like a super long. It would be like 100 years or something.
Two segments. Is the first half different than the
I
second
mean, not actually, but it would be a longer period than 7 years even.
half?
It is. One of the things I always like to point out, too, is a lot of people think the rapture starts the 7-year tribulation.
Also, there's no thing in the Bible called the rapture specifically. It's much like the Antichrist thing, but it does say there's a quickening. And I think the quickening is something like, well, again, if they're using a bunch of ancient, like powerful technology that they snaked away, the quickening would be like the people of God are equipped also with something that makes them just as fast and just as capable in this new era of dealing with stuff. Like like I'm saying, like, well, if you had enough like ancient, like advanced military things might have access to technology before whatever, and I think people that are able to covert strike at anybody would be able to steal away any of that way long before it's accessible to other people. But when it's brought out into the light of day, a powerful enough computer would undo whatever kind of thing that they're using that is they're defending with a stolen quantum computer or something.
7-year tribulation starts, Daniel 9:27 tells us, when the Antichrist makes a treaty with Israel. So, the rapture could happen today, and the tribulation could start next week, next month, maybe a year or two from then. There could be a gap of time that will allow for some further preparation. But at some point in time, this Antichrist figure is going to come on the scene and make a treaty, the Bible says, with Israel.
So this is what I'm talking about by the when I go to the thing here, right? Okay, so like, look, Saudi Arabia, a kingdom, and then 10 additional kingdoms, right? And this kingdom is the kingdom that lords over Islam, essentially, like Sunni Islam. So Saudi Arabia does. That's why I think that this is what it's talking about, because 10 additional kingdoms, 10 horns, right? 10 heads.
And that's going to trigger
And they seem to, it says Pakistan and Indonesia. That's 2 Islamic majority countries.
this 7-year period of time. But it's divided in Daniel 9:27 into 2 halves. There's a first half and a second half to it. The first half of that period of time, Israel's going to enjoy peace. And I think at the beginning of the tribulation,
So that could be this period coming up. And, I actually think the tribulation is only 3.5 years. But again, like I said, there could be a preceding 3.5 year period. Because just as I've been saying, like if you look back exactly 2,520 days from now, you can clearly see like what's going on in my reality now is like there's some kind of connection. I mean, it's really hard to deny. So
there's going to be a time of worldwide peace. It says in Thessalonians, while men are saying peace and safety, then sudden destruction is going to come on them. So the world is going to finally get its desire
Peace
of
and
having
prosperity.
some peace and prosperity.
Yeah.
But at the midpoint of that tribulation period, there's going to be some events that happen that trigger.
like we've already had a period for a little while since of peace and like coming out of the whole COVID situation. There's been a little more whatever I say peace and prosperity, but not around the whole world. And I don't actually think that's completely true, because if you look at what happens with the opening of the seals, it kind of specifically talks about like the sword of Yahweh and the horsemen. Hold on.
The Antichrist then is going to take the world over. And so that second half of the tribulation period, that last 3.5 years, he's going to dominate the world and rule the world. And it's going to be a reign of terror that's going to come really when he's on the earth.
So the first half is going to be Antichrist forming the coalition, or made the coalition with other nations around the world, and a peace treaty is signed with Israel. So there's peace, and we've got the global currency going on with the mark of the beast, and so there's prosperity. And then we'll move into the second half. Is there any tip point? Is it the signing of the peace treaty? How far along is it? Is it maybe 3.5 years after the signing of the peace treaty that begins to take, you'll see the peace, and there's some kumbaya in the world. And then there's a tip point. In the last half, is Antichrist basically breaking the deal?
He does, yeah. It says at the midpoint of that covenant, of that 7-year period, he breaks the treaty with Israel. So I call it one of the greatest double crosses of all time.
And it could be, again, there's no third temple currently, but that it could be easily put up. They can even start the sacrifices and stuff. They got the red heifers and everything set up. Like we are already at that point where it's like they got what the Jewish people think they need to be ritualistically pure in order to start the third temple.
And then what he's going to do, the mask is going to come off at that point in time, and he's going to begin to persecute the Jewish people, because obviously God has made promises to them. Right. Satan wants to get rid of them,
right,
and wipe them out. But he's going to dominate the world at that point in time. So this world is going to end with this great apostasy, the Bible calls it, a great falling away, when this one man is going to be worshiped as God.
We've been talking about the end of the tribulation period. I guess the end really comes there, that 7-year period at Armageddon.
It does. The Bible tells us the
Armageddon is specifically, I think, the point where it's the 6 seals, 6 plague, 6 trumpet, whatever, it's the 6. Gog and Magog, when that happens, is almost exactly what is described in Ezekiel 38:39, is almost exactly what's described in the thing of Armageddon. Like, these armies are coming towards Israel, and then angels are released from the river Euphrates, and then it just mass destruction.
Culmination of history of this age is the Battle of Armageddon and the second coming of Jesus Christ. And really they happen kind of in conjunction with one another. The Battle of Armageddon is interrupted by the second coming of Jesus. Armageddon, that word's only used one time in the Bible. It's in Revelation chapter 16, verse 16, yet it's probably the one word that people know about the end times more than any other.
Armageddon.
But it's actually a literal place. In Hebrew, the word har means a hill or a mountain, and so it's really Mount Megiddo. And if anyone's ever been to Israel, they know that site there of Megiddo that overlooks the Jezreel Valley, or the Valley of Megiddo. 20 miles long, 14 miles wide. Napoleon called it the world's most perfect battlefield.
Interesting.
And so the Bible tells us in the end times, right before the second coming of Christ, all the armies of the earth are going to be gathered there to the land of Israel. Now it's interesting, it never tells us why. They may be gathered there, but
Why? Well, I mean, because of what's gone on with Israel recently and the whole fall of Syria, Russia can no longer transit anything. Their supply lines are cut off from Africa, and all these nations want to pillage Africa. The United, well, I don't know. If I'm in charge of the United States, I don't want to pillage Africa. I want to focus on getting my like America's own shit together here. But and then I'd be king in the kingdom of heaven, and just make the whole world a better place. It's not about making any one country particularly better. It's creating a kingdom of heaven. But or it's already at hand, and we just actually live that out. But yeah, like why? Because Israel doing what they've done is such a fucking problem for the whole axis of, clearly for Iran, but for Russia, like again, Russia's out of Africa. They're basically out of the Middle East. And they have stuff in Africa that they can't get to now. So like they have all these places that they're taking resources out of they can't get to. They have mercenaries and stuff that they can't supply. They got all sorts of stuff. I mean, it really fucking caused a problem for them that this is what's happened with Syria. So, and that the Syria thing happened because of what Hamas did, is basically destabilized everything. So again, ironically, everybody can blame the Palestinians because of what they've done here. It's just caused problems and headaches for everybody.
because things haven't been going that well. They're going to come to try to destroy the Antichrist. Some believe it's there to try to once and for all wipe out the Jewish people. But what we do know is when the armies are gathered there to fight, that the Lord Jesus is going to return from heaven. He's going to interrupt this battle of Armageddon. It's been called, the mother of all wars.
Yeah.
But that's where world history is going to end. One of the things I think is fascinating is I studied world history as a younger person. You end up, all you study is wars. When you study world history.
We're defined by wars, aren't we?
We are. We're defined by wars. Every nation kind of is. And really, history is going to ultimately culminate at this mother of all wars, this campaign of Armageddon.
Mark, as we continue, the birth of Israel does seem to be, in 1948, that does seem to be the moment and time in history when the church could look and say, okay, the prophecies for the most part have been completed. And then we move into the era since...
So I just want to point this out. When you read what goes on here, where it says like, earthquake, wild beasts, anyway, earthquake, the mountains crumble, all sorts of terrors, the sword, people fight each other. But this is the stuff from Revelation that's not just, like, I think these are the plagues that it talks about, like the sixth seal and the seventh seal plagues is torrential rain, hailstones, fire, brimstone. So, the fire, I think, is lightning. Brimstone is like sulfur from the sky. Could be volcanic stuff is going on around there. It very clearly says there's a giant earthquake that goes on. And, like, I think all of this stuff, they, like, come against, I bring you from the furthest north, right, to attack the mountains of Israel. If you just go to, like, watch what happens if we pull all the way out here and we go to Israel. Where is, if we just go north, right? So let's go to Jerusalem, right? If we pull back out a little bit and we just go furthest north, first of all, Turkey, second of all, Ukraine, but the furthest north, Moscow is almost directly north. And then is anything north of Moscow? No. The furthest north, unless they're coming from Antarctica, or I guess you could say the United States and Canada. Are they coming from Canada or something? But no, furthest north would be Moscow, right? So, again, just literally draw a line straight up. Furthest north is Moscow, right? But it does say that Iran, in the term it uses Persia, as well as some of these other countries around here. attack. Interestingly enough, it doesn't say Saudi Arabia, but I think that's because Saudi Arabia's been part of that peace plan and they've been using it, and so they already were lording authority over through whatever the bogus peace plan is. Something like that is my guess. I don't know. I can't be for sure, but that's what it seems like to me. Also here, Armageddon. I'm pretty sure when you go to Revelation here, and then you go. First of all, this sixth trumpet thing, where like it literally says, "Release the four angels that are chained up at the great Euphrates." They're put there for this hour, which is I think the 1 hour that those people get power, the 10 kings with power, and they're released to destroy a third of the human race. And then you go down here, and at Revelation 16 here, so these are the plagues. That was the trumpet. The plague says, the sixth angel emptied his bowl over the great river Euphrates. All the water dried up to make a way for the kings of the east to come in. Then from the jaws of dragon and beast and false prophet, I saw three foul spirits come. They looked like frogs, and in fact were demon spirits able to work miracles, going out to all the kings of the world and to call them together for war, the great day of God the Almighty. This is how it'll be. I shall come like a thief. Happy is the man who has stayed awake and not taken off his clothes, so that he does not go out naked and expose his shame. They called the place, the kings together, Armageddon. So that's why I think the sixth seal, sixth trumpet, and sixth. Like, look at what the six is here. The six is, in my vision, when he broke the sixth seal, there's a violent earthquake, and the sun went as black as coarse sackcloth. The moon turned as red as blood all over, and the stars of the sky fell to earth like figs dropping. And just notice there's a violent earthquake, and all the governors and rulers and all the people say like, the day has come, essentially, like the great day of God's anger has come. This is also where, from Thessalonians 2, or 2 Thessalonians, 2, 1 through 12 or whatever, where it says, like, don't let anybody fool you, saying that the great day has already come. This has to happen. This is the great day. You know what I'm saying? So unless a third of the world's population is gone at one time, it ain't the great day. And even then, before that happens, notice that it says at the fourth trumpet, which is the one seemingly associated with, the fourth seal, seemingly associated with Jezebel. The four is associated with the fourth church in Jezebel, and death and plague. And remember, Jezebel dies from being sick, and her children are killed by death. So they were given authority over a quarter of the earth to kill by sword, by famine, by plague, and by wild beasts. And moreover, it seems to me like this is probably the sword of Yahweh. So that the horsemen represent different aspects. Like, Yahweh holds the keys to life and death, but after death, after the kingdom of heaven comes, there's no need for death anymore. So, you know what I mean? That's why death gets thrown into a burning lake.
The end of World War II, the birth of Israel. And you see transportation acceleration. You see international communication. Things that probably even prior to World War II seemed bizarre or strange to read. But today, we've seen what's happened in the last 60 years. And it is phenomenal when you see how quick communication, banking, globalization, as you mentioned, it all just seems to fall in line. Plus, all of the geographical activity that's happening with nations surrounding Israel. It just seems, again, to be taking us down a prophetic highway.
Well, it does, because you read Ezekiel 38 and 39. It's a passage, it's right after Ezekiel 37 that predicts the regathering of Israel in the end times. Ezekiel 38 and 39 mentions a coalition of nations that are going to invade Israel in the end times. One of them is Rosh, which I believe is the nation of Russia.
Is that the army to the north that,
yes,
that you speak of in the Bible?
The easiest way to figure this out, because the Rosh and Meshech and Tubal, there's a city in Russia called Tobolsk, I think, and Meshech, like Damascus is called Demashek, so you can probably guess that this is not going to be, it'd probably be like Meskek or Moscow. But the prince of, like, this is, the easiest thing is just go the furthest north. Draw a straight line north from Russia. You see that the furthest north thing is, from Israel, you see that the furthest north thing is clearly, it's not even a question, it is clearly the furthest north country, because it says furthest north is Russia. Okay.
Yeah, and also Persia is mentioned in that passage, which Persia was changed to Iran in 1935.
Right.
It became the Islamic Republic of Iran in the late 1970s. So here you have these nations mentioned and others as well there. Well, it's not very hard to envision those nations coming against Israel, what we see happening over there now. So a lot of the coalitions the Bible speaks of in the end times are coming together, just as the scriptures predict. So there really are a lot of signs out there for us today that lead us to believe that the coming of Christ could be very soon.
Practical application as a pastor. You're a theologian, you're a scholar, you spend a lot of time looking at the Bible through a prophetic lens. How can we as Christ followers best prepare? Is there a occupy until I come? Is there an aggressiveness, or are we passive and just wait? What do we do?
You know, back in the book of Hebrews, it says, don't forsake the assembling of yourselves together as the manner of some is, but encourage one another. And then it says, and do it all the more as you see the day drawing near. Now, that must mean we can see the day drawing near, or that really wouldn't make any sense. And so I think that what that's telling us is, as we see the day drawing near, we ought to ratchet up our own spiritual lives, the intensity of it, the urgency. Every place that the coming of Christ is mentioned in the New Testament that I can think of, there's always practical application. In 1 Thessalonians 4, some believers have died, and he tells them about the rapture, and he says, comfort one another with these words. And
Well, he tells them this. He doesn't tell them about the rapture because there's no mention of a thing called the rapture. But he does tell them this. You be caught up in the clouds. What happens? Are you gonna see it on the webcam? You're not gonna see that one on the webcam because I have a bunch of different webcams up and they aren't that. But yeah, there's just some crazy lightning going on. Like currently on this one. You're gonna give us a little something so that I guess I could just go back on the video. Yeah, there's something. You know what I mean? So like there's a pretty intense one that just went, and so yeah. I'm gonna be doing, Lightning Lab stuff here in a bit. That's why I have this up, and I'm trying to I don't want to go too early. We're about. This looks like it's gonna take a little bit of time, but look at all that lightning. I mean, looks like quite a bit, and these are pretty impressive cells. And there's tornado warning just a little earlier. There's like lots of lightning here too. So we haven't had a storm in a while. So here it is. Okay, let's finish this. Oh, there you go. That's not too big, because none of these are close. These have to be pretty far away, actually.
1 Corinthians 15, he talks all about the rapture, and then he says, therefore be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing your labor is not in vain. John 14, Jesus said, don't let your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many dwelling places. If it were not so, I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you. If I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. So it's
I also want to say it's not that I don't think Christians... believers won't be to a degree protected during this period, but it also does say captivity. Like it clearly mentions in the book of Daniel, like whatever this thing is, whatever this empire is, it's going to be able to harass the saints of the Most High. So I mean, it's literally talking about the saints of the Most High. So Christians who would be those saints, if you really believe in Yahweh and Christ and Jesus, so that's what it would be. It's still going to be able to harass you during the time period, as something has seemingly been able to harass me during this time period. It's like still is. So, yeah, let's keep going.
Comforting word. And then the last one I love is in 1 John chapter 3, where John says there in the passage, everyone who fixes his hope on him purifies himself as he himself is pure. So the coming of the Lord is a purifying hope. So it's a purifying hope, it's a motivating hope, it's a comforting hope, it's a calming hope. Every place it's mentioned in the New Testament, there's always that application with it. And I can't think of anything more comforting in these days in which we live than to know that Jesus is coming back someday.
Amen.
And he's going to deliver us from the coming wrath.
All right, so my whole point with all of this actually is specifically, yeah, it's weird. What's up with this colors that have been chosen? Is it the Ravens colors? We're being good hosts to the Ravens here. Kind of looks like it. Actually, for a moment, I thought it was the Lakers colors, but um, so because Beyonce is doing that thing tomorrow, the halftime show of the football game. Football game that I just made a video where it's like, yo, I'm pretty sure the NFL is just straight up rigged. I mean, that whole game. Like, I would even say this: Tank Dell should feel pretty pissed off about that call if he actually did get hurt, because it's literally the next, like almost the next play that he gets injured on, and that play wouldn't have happened had they just actually called the pass interference call. It's not gonna play out the same way. So not to say that it directly led to that, but that's what I that was pretty cool. Um, Not to say that it directly led to that, but yeah, I mean it's like um it's just very like I don't think it would have happened. I don't think that he would have gotten hurt if he actually did get hurt, because it just the whole thing feels like theater to me. It doesn't feel any of it doesn't feel real. I mean, other than I guess a bunch of guys could go pretend they're playing football, but it just doesn't feel real when they're missing so many calls that are like, yeah, these are game changing, and you're missing numbers of them. And then after the game, it was like insult to injury. They then went and fined a bunch of Texans players. I don't know what's going on. Again, it's just all of this. It seems kind of unreal to me. That's why I want to be in the kingdom of heaven, because none of this shit. I don't have to. You don't have to worry about any of this shit. Like I think there will be sports and enjoyable things and stuff like that, and like you wouldn't have to worry about, like, it'll all be real. It won't be bullshit. But anyway, hey, I'm gonna end this here, and I'm gonna start getting the camera ready uh for the Lightning Lab video. So that's where I'm in it. This is like a 2.5 hour video. It's way longer than I thought I was gonna talk. I don't know. I don't know about the Trump thing. I can't be for sure, but it does seem strange that he got hit in the ear. And like I'm saying, my dad, when he's saying that, I mean, every round is not going to tumble and blow out the back of someone's head if it hits them in the ear. It still is just like, you look at any, like, I'm watching the gun tubers looking at it, and they're all like pretty at awe. Holy shit. I mean, it's like lightning's getting kind of crazy here. The gun tubers are like, you know, they're looking at it like, I mean, it just, to me, it seems like such a super fortunate. Like, Trump is so fortunate if it just is real and it just hit him in the ear and he's okay and there's not some other bullshit attached to it. He is so fortunate that it only hit him in the ear. You know what I mean? Like, and didn't do anything else. I mean, it hit, like, someone else behind him got hit, right? But I mean, my whole point is like, right, he got hit. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's just strange that my dad said that. Like, a Viet Cong guy got, he saw, like, it hit him in the ear and then just like it tumbled and blew out the back of his skull. I mean, it's just like, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems a lot like hearing that was like a message that Yahweh is trying to get over to me, to like, hey, this is maybe related to what has gone on with Trump, because that's the only thing. Like, even when it happened, I was thinking like he's a world leader, uh, and it's a headshot, wounded in the head. Right? It was a headshot. Being shot in the ear is technically a headshot. Um, and it's just so low probability, with a reflex sight. If he had a better AR-15 or designated marksman rifle and a better optics and stuff, and he wasn't just some, well, even if just a better weapon and setup, but if he was a better shot and stuff, okay. I mean, like, there's some other stuff, but the fact that it hit him. Hold on. You see what it said? Oh, let's go back one more time. I'm gonna just pause it, right. It just says anus on the side. I'm still, I still find stuff like that funny. But okay, and us, like on on us. Anyway, so that's it. I don't have anything else. So I'm gonna end this here, and I'm gonna get ready and do the. This says Blaze, and this says Lil, right? Whoa, there's just a big flash of lightning. Hold on. Oh, that's crazy. All right, I'm done. I'm getting ready because that was, lightning's going crazy. This is probably where Satan falls, guys. It could totally be that. Um, that's it. Have a blessed one. I'll catch you next time. Later. I'm gonna do a lightning lab video, so it's not like I'm done, but I just gotta set that up. So later. Yeah.